in Childersburg for pre-need funerals, burials, and cremation since 1975. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. Funeral service for Louise Johnson, age 84, of Alpine, will be Saturday at 2 p.m. from Radley Smith Funeral Home Chapel, with Chaplain Mike Britton and Reverend Troll Hill officiating. Burial in the Spring Hill Baptist Church Cemetery in Clay County. Mrs. Johnson died Wednesday, September 7th at her residence. Visitation Saturday 1 until 2 at the funeral home. Radley Smith Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Lula M. Coleman, age 92, of Childersburg, will be Saturday at 2 o'clock from Curtis and Son Childersburg Chapel, with the Reverend Paul Hickman officiating. Burial in the Odina Cemetery. Visitation noon until 2 at the funeral home. And Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel directing. Celebration of life for Leslie May Tootie Brown, age 89, will be Saturday at noon from Mount Olive Baptist Church in Childersburg, with Reverend Frederick Kirkland officiating. Interment in the Mount Olive Baptist Church Cemetery of Childersburg. Visitation today 1 until 7 at the funeral home. Family hour 5 till 7, all at Community Funeral Home in Sylacauga. Funeral service for Naomi Lee Joy, age 65, will be 3 o'clock Sunday at New Life Assembly of God in Pell City. The family receiving friends 5:30 to 7:30 Saturday night at Ursery Funeral Home in Pell City. Miss Lee died Wednesday, September the 7th. Ursery Funeral Home, Pell City directing. Funeral service for Knox Steele will be Saturday at 11 a.m. from Sylacauga Church of God, with Brother Tim Wilson and Brother Tim Wilson II officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Visitation at the church tonight from 5 till 8 o'clock. Knox passed away on Sunday at Children's Hospital in Birmingham. Online condolences at CurtisandSonFH.com. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. Funeral service for Robert Dixon Cox. There will be a brief graveside service following a celebration of life at Veterans Park in Talladega on September 14th. Celebration of life at 3 o'clock, and then the brief graveside service to follow in Oak Hill Cemetery. Ursery Funeral Home in charge of the arrangements. Celebration remembering the life of Mrs. Margaret Ann Beasley Smith, age 68, of Talladega, will be Saturday at 11 o'clock from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home in Talladega. The Reverend Marvin Jones officiating. Interment in the Midway Memorial Gardens. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home and Crematory in charge of the arrangements. Funeral service for Avery Fuller is today at 1 p.m. from Harper Springs Baptist Church in Sylacauga, with burial in the Harper Springs Cemetery. And Community Funeral Home Sylacauga in charge of the arrangement. Celebration of life for Charles Franklin Hurd Sr., age 75, will be Saturday at 2 o'clock from Rising Star Missionary Baptist Church, with the Reverend Carlos Woodard officiating. Interment in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Visitation today 1 until 7 o'clock at the funeral home. Community Funeral Home directing. Celebration of life remembering the life of Mrs. Elisa Ray Nolan, age 41, is Saturday at 1 p.m. from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel, with the Reverend Courtney Keith officiating. Interment in the Oak Hill Cemetery. Public viewing today 3 till 7 at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home directing. And William Pete Thomas Townsend, age 85, of Talladega, died September 6th. Funeral service will be held today at 11 a.m. from Ursery Funeral Home, with Steve Burke and Jeff Duncan officiating. Burial in the Oak Hill Cemetery. Mr. Townsend was a member of the Emmanuel Baptist Church, and Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega in charge of the arrangements. And funeral service is today for Mr. John Dunn, age 91. Visitation at Curtis and Son North from 10 until 11 this morning. Funeral service begins at 11 at Curtis and Son North Chapel, with burial in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Mr. Dunn, longtime automobile person here in the area. He was in the car business, for automobile sales business, for many, many years. That's Mr. John Dunn, age 91, Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel. in charge of the arrangements. This obituary report this morning, courtesy of Curtis and Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg.